Hey, it's producer Danks again. Make sure to stop by Blues Hog on Thursday night at Spot 520. It's going to be a wild time with a big surprise. Tim, Brother D, and the whole gang will be there.
OVS, Old Virginia Smoke. OVS, Old Virginia Smoke. OVS, Old Virginia Smoke.
This podcast is brought to you by the Kansas City BBQ Store, the official provider of barbecue supplies to listeners of Pitmaster. The dog days of summer are here, which means it's prime barbecue season. The grills are kicking, and as we get in those last days of summer, you really got to make sure you have what you need. But it also means that the American Royal is right around the corner. From smokers and fuel to rubs and sauces, the Kansas City BBQ Store has everything and anything you could want. Make the Kansas City BBQ Store your one-stop shop for everything that you need for the American Royal. I know that I will. This year at the American Royal, we'll be doing our first live Pitmaster podcast broadcast from Kansas Speedway with the great folks at the Kansas City BBQ Store. We hope to have a lot of teams come by and say hi, and we think it's going to be a lot of fun. So as a listener of the Old Virginia Smoke Pitmaster podcast, you can get 10% off of your order this American Royal season by using the code PITPOD, PITPOD, and for online orders at www.thekansascitybarbecuestore.com. Well, we're here with the big ginger, Travis Clark, Clark Crew BBQ. How are you, my friend?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm great, buddy. I'm great. It's about that time, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. Man, my favorite week of the year, man. It's coming up.
It's unbelievable. And I know how important this contest is to you, and just from our past conversations, and how, like, I know that winning the Invitational was like a really big deal to you when you started barbecue.
That was my dream when I got into barbecue.
Yeah, and you realized it, and that's amazing. And I know
Rod Gray is the one that told me when I got in this. He said the American Royal Invitational is the only competition that's all the champions of champions. And I was like, I'm going to win that thing. That was always my dream.
Yep, and you got back on the bike this year. It's been good to see a little bit
it
back on the bike.
We've done 14, I think. It's crazy how barbecue's changed. I mean, used to be if you cooked 14 contests, you wasn't in it nothing. I can't believe nobody's passed us in brisket yet. Every week I keep thinking they're going to. We're still sitting number one in team of the year in brisket. We've cooked 14 contests, and I missed turn-ins in one of them. I thought, you people suck. I mean, back in the day, you had to have 10 wins in a category.
Yeah,
it's changed so much.
It has, and for better or for worse, I enjoy cooking 14, 15 a year now. Like,
yeah,
35.
If a guy would cook these guys that cook 30 now, I'm thinking, how do you not be first in every category? That's crazy to me. It's so easy now. They have no idea what it was like, 5 years ago.
Rolling 40, yeah.
Yeah, and having to win 14 or 15 GCs to do it, shit, now you can win it on 5 or 6. It's crazy.
Well, we're getting ready for our favorite week of the year. How do you get your mind right for this? What's your process?
I do nothing different than I normally do, except I'll probably check turn-in times just to make sure. I don't really look at the roll any different. I take it just as serious as I do any other comp. We allow a little extra time getting there. I try to get that socializing time in before the contest. When I start cooking and prepping, I do nothing different. I make sure I stay the same. I make sure my week this week, going into next week, I'm prepared this week, doing things like getting my knives sharpened, things that I don't do contest week normally. Yeah. Going ahead and getting the knives sharpened this week. Went ahead and double checked, make sure I have everything ready to go, cutting boards, just all the other little things like that. Anything that could go in the trailer, you make sure that stuff's done, because it's like trimming for a double, so Monday is kind of my sauce day. I'll sit there on Monday, get my sauces. You know how I do it. I'll get my sauces and rubs all topped off on Monday. Tuesday I'll trim brisket. And since I have to leave on Wednesday this year I'm probably going to work on trimming chicken and ribs and pork a little early. I'll probably work on those on Tuesday and finish up on Wednesday. I have to be there early. Normally, I don't get to the Royal till Thursday,
Yeah.
but with this new trailer so much bigger, I need to get there before Donnie Teal does so I can get parked. So Donnie's that guy that gets there early. So he's there on a Wednesday evening early. So I gotta leave to try to get him there because I don't want Donnie to have to move, when I get there. So
Right.
yeah.
I think you should make Donnie move because he's a giant pain in the ass.
I'm pretty lucky, man. I got him and Sterling as neighbors, and I always had my buddy Wade, and he moved this year, so that sucks.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. And I kind of wanted to get his old spot. It'd be easier to pull that big trailer in, but they split it up and made two small spots with it, so it's not going to be the same.
yeah, but you're in a good neighborhood there. You got good people around you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. When turn-ins were in the building right there, it was great. They said they're going to put them back to that, I think, next year.
That would be amazing.
Oh, God, yeah. Make everybody happy.
Yeah, especially my spot being the point furthest from turn-ins is.
Yeah, you are, I guess, yeah.
But I wouldn't change that spot for the world. I got nobody behind me. No one comes down there. Kind of on my own little island.
Focus better. I like where I'm at because it's not. I'm not over in the Party Central over there. It's not hard to focus there. I don't struggle to focus at the Royal. I think I always, man, I think I've had one day I wasn't happy with my food ever. I've always thought I cooked good at the Royal. You just seems like somehow you find a way to step your game up and just do well, and it's just
Well,
contest,
but
man.
you're also a big gamer. You're big time. When the majors come around, that's when.
Yeah.
You really like to turn it on, and that's, I think, something that a lot of people aspire to because, I've been trying to coach a lot of these teams that are going in this year. It's their first year going and trying to get them like, listen, don't undue stress yourself. It's a normal cook.
Oh yeah. I've had so many messages the last week from people and anything from like, can you have a fire pit out there? Can you do this? Will people steal your chairs? I'm like, you are focusing on the wrong shit already.
Right.
If you're going to socialize, have at it. I'm going to cook. I want to make sure my chicken's right. Do I got good enough chicken? Do I got good enough ribs? That's all I'm focused on. I want to make sure I got everything we need.
Right, but you also know that it's a balancing act between, there's social stuff you got to do, and there's.
I turned down a news thing today because they wanted to do it. Friday evening down there going into it. I said, yeah, I can do something in the morning. I can't do evening.
Yeah.
They were like, well, it won't take long. I'm like, I am not doing anything different than I normally do. I don't care who it's for. I'm not going to do it. It's too important. You ain't got good chances to win that thing. You can have a greatest cook in your life. I remember, I think it was 2016 was one of the, a year there. I think it was 2016. Man, I had an amazing cook. We ended up winning ribs. But I truly thought I turned in 4 meats. I was like, I can win any of these. And when they called us for first place ribs, I stood up before that and told Wade, I said, do I look like a dick if I start walking down there now? And then they called me first place ribs. I was like, told you. It was one of those ones that, it was probably one of the best cooks I ever had in my life. And overall, you don't finish great. You finish, whatever the hell it was. I don't even know. But you didn't win, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But, that's just how it is. But I don't think bad food will ever win the Royal. I think you got to have good food. You have to have good food, and then the cards got to fall how it is. You got to hit the right tables at the right time. I don't think it's a flavor profile. I don't think it's any of that because it's just too many random judges in there. You got to hit the right tables at the right time. But I truly believe bad food will never win the Royal.
I agree with you. I've told people that I'm like, go there, cook your stuff.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, and don't get starstruck. Don't sideline watch. Just go cook your food.
Yeah, no, and bad food will win a lot of contests. You see people that just hit the right couple tables. They hit the angel tables, and bad food can win. The Royal, there's too many diluted. I think you have to have good food, and I think you just got to cross your fingers, and just didn't hope it works. It's just a random deal. That's. Especially the Open, so many teams, so many teams. And I don't think I've ever cooked there a year that they haven't been walking by the spots going, we need judges. Can anybody here judge? And it's like, oh, here we go. I mean, one year my aunt and them were like, yeah, we can. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, this, here we go. Anybody have any Casey masterpiece? Anybody at all?
Right. I guess I better take this rib to 214.
Yeah, this is going to need to hit 215 and I need some Sweet Baby Ray's. Quick.
This podcast is brought to you by BarbecueData.com. BarbecueData.com is your one-stop shop for all of your barbecue competition data. Historical data, calls, wins, placements, everything under one roof. It's a great way not only to track yourself in the standings, but also to track how you improve your scores from year to year. Listeners of this podcast can receive 20% off of a new subscription to BarbecueData.com with the code PITPOD. That's one word, all capital letters, PITPOD, PITPOD. So check your team scores, check on others, and do it all on BarbecueData.com. So you don't do anything different. You don't have like a couple racks of ribs that you've hung back.
I don't. Here's my thing: is if I find good ribs, I always cook them. I always do them. I've got 10 racks of ribs set back that I sorted 2 weeks ago because when our ribs came in, I just picked my ribs out of the restaurant. They were really good. Cases were really heavy. All the cases are weighing 44 and 45 pounds, which is 3 or 4 pounds bigger divided out over 12 racks. Ribs were big, so I pulled them out of there. They're froze, I pulled them out of there and just kept them in the freezer there. So I've got some bigger ribs sorted, but I looked today. I didn't see anything I just loved. I'll look again tomorrow. But I don't just rat hole stuff back and do for me. Leading up to it, I do. I really try to treat it like a normal contest. Because what people don't understand, if you're setting that 2.5 inch thick brisket back that you have for that thing, have you ever cooked one before?
Right.
I would rather cook an 1.5 inch one or an inch one that I cook every single week than cook a 2.5 inch one and make sure I can get it done. I don't want to do anything different. I know what I'm cooking if I cook my normal food. I would rather try to cook my normal food perfect than gamble on something I'm not used to cooking.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you paid attention to the last 30 seconds.
It's damn true. Let me tell you how that played for me my first time. Very first American roll I ever went to, 2013. Wade Reeder brought me Snake River Farm brisket. I'd never cooked one, and we got down to, cooking the open. And I'm like, well, that's the big one. I'm going to do that. I'm going to save that Snake River and cook it that day. It'd been aged a long time. We opened that thing in the trailer and it smelled. I mean, bad. I'm like, only meat we had. That back then we didn't know we trimmed meat at the contest.
Right.
So sent my ex-wife, Kimberly, sent her off to go hit some stores and try to find it. She's in a Walmart up there that had prime briskets. They had 3 of them. I was like, can you see the marbling? She's like, oh, they all look about the same. I was like, buy the biggest one. She buys a 17-pound prime brisket from Walmart, brings it back. We 180 brisket that next day. But I'd cooked the primes. That's all I'd ever cooked. I'd never cooked a Wagyu. Probably a damn good thing. I probably wouldn't have got the Wagyu right.
Right.
So we won the damn 180 brisket at the Royal. That's the first year we ever cooked it, and we reserved. That's 10th contest of my life. But I was used to cook primes. So it's probably a damn good thing it happened.
Probably, yeah.
I've been cooking A9s, pretty much all year. That and a prime. I cook one A9 and a prime. I grab a prime out of the restaurant, and I've turned in the prime a couple of times, mainly because it's a bigger, thicker, better brisket. But the A9s all year have killed. If I wish I'd have been cooking them things the last few years, that's like a brisket on training wheels. There's so much more marbling in them. They're killer, and I'm not going to change and cook anything else. I had a buddy of mine send me a deal and say, hey, I got a lead on these briskets. They're supposed to be badass. I am not going to a world championship cooking something I've never cooked before.
No. Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
And he sent me pictures of them. I'm like, dude, that's got some serious marbling. You have to send me one sometime. But there's no way I wouldn't cook that thing if you paid me to cook it at the Raw. There's no way. I want to win that damn thing just as bad as anybody else. And I want to cook the same stuff I've been cooking all year. I cook prairie fresh pork butts, prairie fresh ribs. I'm cooking an A9 brisket and a prime up there. I'll do one of each day, and cooking smart chicken. I don't change anything.
There you go.
Cook it every time, man. It's.
I love it. Well, listen, man.
I think the biggest thing I see people do is go to the Royal just thinking, man, I'm going to spend the money this week and I'm going to buy this brisket, and I know anybody of them's going to tell you, don't cook it if you haven't done it before.
Right.
Kevin, they'll all tell you that. Any good cook's going to say, don't go drop $400 on a damn brisket or $300 on a brisket and go, I'm going to save that for the Royal. If you haven't cooked it and you ain't good at it, it's different, man. Texture and tenderness is everything. It's not the flavor.
Right.
It's got to be cooked right. And the one thing I'll tell you at the Royal, it better be cooked more than it is in most places. You better go a little more than tender. It's going to set a whole lot longer, and you got a hell of a lot of judges off the street that I'm going to tell you right now, just like my aunt and them that came in there and did that. If that rib ain't falling off the bone, she going, it ain't done. I don't cook mine to fall off the bone, but I promise you I cook it more tender than I do anywhere else.
Yep.
And we've 180 ribs there doing that. I think you got to have more tender food.
I agree. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you for taking the time. I think there's some great advice there.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see you, man. Can't wait to see Jamie.
I know. Hell's it been a year? Has it been a year since I saw you there last?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm getting ready to come out there to Maryland again soon, so.
Oh, we got to get together.
Yeah. Probably next month.
All right, cool. Let me know.
All right.
All right, bud. We'll see you next week. Travis Clark, everybody.
So soft. This is all you got?
What's
You're
that?
killing me. There's no rapid fire questions. You got nothing this time? You're just winging it?
No, this is one of the quick hitters, man. One of the 15-minute jobs.
You're killing me here. You're slipping. You're slipping. I'll see you next week, man.
All right, bud. Thanks a lot.
See you, dude. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and to share it out with all your friends. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke YouTube channel as well. Tune in next week for another great episode of Pitmaster. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedenka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke, LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022.
Old Virginia Smoke.